Last time we were talking about materials and resonances, and it was getting a little lengthy, so we decided to make a two-parter. So if you haven't seen the episode before this, then check out the first link in the video description below. So anyway, let's carry on and talk about a lot bit more about materials and resonances, because that is a huge part of what we do to make our headphones sound as good as they do. So,
of course, in headphones, materials tend to matter more than even in speakers. It tends to be like right next to your ear.
It's very close.
So there's not a lot in the way to muck up any type of distortion or noises.
There's no buffer.
Yeah, right. So it tends to be very critical.
Direct connection to the amplifier too. No crossovers, nothing.
So in a planar magnetic, probably the most critical, if anything, I would say, is the diaphragm material.
For sure.
That tends to be
It sets up the sound.
quite pertinent.
It sets up the sound of the driver.
One thing I wanted to get into is our efforts.
The neutrality of it.
Well, it depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
But our efforts to come up with a diaphragm material, I think we're a little bit non-traditional and different than I expected. Because of course we went through other traditional materials, the stuff that's readily available. You could get it off the shelf. Some of the stuff you could get it with already copper or aluminum stuff deposited on it. You could etch it off.
It's amazing what eBay has nowadays.
It's very easy to do these things. So for rapid prototyping, it's simple, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just starting out, rather than paying somebody tens of thousands of dollars to make 4 pieces for you, and then you have issues, and there's always a problem.
Materials are simple.
Right. And it could take you 20 revisions to make something that's good. If you're looking for ultra high-end type space,
Well, we stumbled on
tricky.
a material that was fairly new to the industry. It didn't. I don't even think they had a name for it yet.
Right.
And we kind of rolled with that, got some sampling of that, and it had the character that I was looking for.
Right.
It passed my crinkle test.
It took a very long time to figure out how to deposit a trace pattern on it.
Took a very long time.
A lot of challenges there.
Yes.
Well, you had to go to the place that makes it, right?
Yep.
Because you can't just take it and say, oh, here you go, throw it on there, call it a day, because we didn't even know what our trace pattern was going to be yet.
Yeah, of course.
So that was another issue altogether. It's not like we exactly had this
we had
down.
the sample, but
Yeah. Right.
a lot of refinement happened from there.
Well, that's why we finally brought that whole process in house.
Right.
Which was a challenge in
It
itself.
pretty much needed to be that way.
Yeah.
But oof.
Yeah.
And so I guess people would be unaware, because we've never, as far as I know, publicly said this, but
Probably not.
we get the blank substrate and we apply coating packs and deposit the trace pattern ourselves in-house. And I don't believe anybody knows how we're doing it.
No.
But we're doing it in a very non-traditional way.
We created our own processes to do it.
Yeah.
We modified, we used a number of things that were non-common.
Right.
Modified machinery, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
created our own process. It's not something you could easily duplicate. In the end, it was cool because we went through thousands of iterations of the driver trace pattern
Yeah.
against the mag field, blah, blah, blah.
So initially we started with just bare materials, right?
Yeah.
Just Kapton, just Mylar, just the fancy pants materials that we tried after that, the aerospace stuff. And what was shocking to me, how much you could affect the character of the material by applying some sort of coatings that are nanoscale stuff. So it's like a trivial in terms of diaphragm mass, but it really could change the character in a quite beneficial way.
It changes the resonant character of the material.
Right. But the
At
real
various
key is
frequencies.
thinking this the whole thing as a system again. Right. Sometimes these things are necessary in order to be able to facilitate your deposition of the trace material and stuff. So there's always the practical sense behind it.
Well, on speaker drivers, don't they call it, I think they dope them, there's doping, right? They put a layer or something on it, and it tends to change the resonant character.
Yeah, I mean, it
of the
depends how
surface.
you're making your diaphragm, what it's made
Like
out of.
I've heard a woofer that
Sure.
I've heard, like working at years ago at B&W, we had a woofer that didn't have the coating on it. So it was not, it was accidentally wasn't doped.
Yeah.
And you play a test tone on it, bass frequencies on this woofer, and it sounds like it's underwater. It's got a warble to it. It's wrong. And all you needed to do was spray a layer, a glue layer, or a layer of some material on it, and that resonant character at that particularly at certain bass frequencies, might be 50, 60, 70 hertz. Yeah. It would just go whoa, it would just warble.
Yeah.
And like you'd throw a layer of something on the surface of this woofer, and it just stopped.
Yeah.
And it's it's really what you're kind of doing is dampening resonances of that particular material.
But it was shocking how
the same with the planar
trivial
diaphragm.
of an application of something could make such a significant difference in the end result.
Yeah.
And so as a result, now we have the bare substrate, a coating pack, the electrical conductive trace, and then another coating pack on top of that. And that formula is actually, as it turns out, quite
sandwich.
significant.
Yeah.
Right. It makes a big difference. It's a significant impact.
Well, yeah,
in the end
particularly
result.
when you think about it. I mean, you don't, no, no one, from an engineering standpoint, usually you would just say, oh, well, you put a trace on something,
Sure.
it conducts electricity, it plays audio, you're good.
Well,
Now we took it that way further. We go, okay, we've got the trace. Now, how can we modify that? So now you got this trace pattern
Yes.
with the coating packs,
Yeah.
as you call it,
Yes.
on the diaphragm material. All right. The deal is that the actual driven area is just the trace, because the current
Right.
flows through
Yeah,
the trace.
sure.
The rest of the material that is clear or whatever color
It's
it
dead.
is dead. It's not moving. So now you've got this trace that's forcing, it's holding on to this real
Mm-hmm.
thin diaphragm material, and it's forcing it to move, hopefully linearly, but it's forcing it to move in some direction
Sure.
relative to the magnetic field and the current flow.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So think about that now. That motion is rapid, right? I mean, the change is trying to be instantaneous. It's basically pulling the material in that one spot. So by changing the coating packs, as you call it, or the materials between the layers and above
Yep.
the layer of that, you're actually dampening that motion slightly of that instantaneous jerk.
absolutely,
That
yeah.
trace is putting up instant force on that one spot on a surface, right? And it's trying to move the whole entire surface. So in reality, it's like damping on damping. And you got to, again, this is how we broke it down. We broke it down to that level where, how can we smoothen the response of this driver and and yet maintain clarity, without using physical damping materials on the external side like everyone else
Yeah.
does.
Oh, right. I suppose that's a fair point.
They're damping external. They're
Everybody
throwing
does it
something that's
externally, yeah.
absorbing wideband information.
It's like an
into
integrated
headphones.
suppressor.
Yeah, right. So you're not only absorbing the problem you were hearing, which is that resonance of the diaphragm material, and but you're also damping other frequencies that are positive. They're good. You want to have there. Damping material is typically wide-banded in nature. It doesn't solve. It solves some problems and it absorbs. It creates others.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So we avoided that by optimizing the diaphragm material. We avoided the need for damping materials. The
Right, of
1266
course.
has no damping.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's all freaking aluminum.
That was pretty much a design goal.
It's got diffusion in it. It's got
Yes.
some diffusion in it by the interior cuts and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not stripping any information. What's coming off the diaphragm is straight to the ear. There's nothing there.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, I guess when we first started doing this, remember one of the guys that was into the hobby, he was saying it's a miracle that you were able to make a
Yeah.
self-damp
Yeah.
planer driver.
I didn't think anything of it.
I didn't either, but
Yeah.
I guess he claimed it was never done before.
Right.
I don't know.
I think the challenge was nobody told me it wasn't possible.
I
Yeah,
guess so.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah.
We didn't know that was a goal
Yeah,
either,
right.
really. We're just trying to make the damn thing sound really, really good. But yeah, he was amazed that we made a driver that was self-damped. I
Right.
guess it didn't exist before. I guess that was the holy grail of planers,
Yeah.
at least from a DIY standpoint.
Well, actually, kind of to the point, there's actually people that are actually concerned. It happened like 3 times now in shows, and they're holding up 1266 to the
Yeah.
light, and they're like, "There's nothing inside of this." That's what they say. It's like,
Right.
"Where's the driver?"
Yeah.
That's
You're
pretty
looking
common,
at it,
actually. They say
you
they
know?
could see right through it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually a common thing.
Yeah. We certainly can't do that easily with a dynamic driver.
Well, yeah.
I never really
You
thought about
see
it
a lot
like
of
that,
metal.
Yeah.
Because remember when we were
Magnet
doing,
structure.
when we were using the early materials, we didn't have dampening, external dampening at the time, because the point wasn't to make a good headphone at that point. The point was to figure out the driver technology.
Right.
Right. And so you could always add external damping.
Sure.
And so we tried to
Dumbing it down with damping materials is easy.
Yeah, that's the thing you do
Yeah.
after the fact, from my
Sure.
perspective. And so we were trying to get the diaphragm right. And then if there was a problem, we could try and solve it with external damping. But remember how bad they were without damping? Like it wasn't possible comparatively to get a intrinsically damped diaphragm with the conventionally available materials.
No, you couldn't. You'd be stuck with whatever its inherent sound
Right.
was.
And so I think that's what
Yeah.
these people, the DIYers back in those days, that's what they ran into, why they thought it was
Sure,
novel.
they had to dampen it.
Because their experience with the conventional driver technology,
Right.
when you remove the
Well, they
external
were limited to
damping,
materials that were
Yeah.
available to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's understandable.
you needed dampening on those. That was
As were we.
intrinsic with
until
the
you-
design.
Yeah, I mean, as most people are. I mean, and again, it brings us back to why a lot of these old school speaker manufacturers have created their own, typically sandwiched materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To weed out these resonances, to get the material to not have a sound of its own and be more rigid yet light.
Yeah.
And that's the key. I mean, you can't just throw shit
Yeah.
at these drivers. You can't make them heavy. I mean, everything's a trade-off once
Right.
again, right? There's mass and rigidity.
Yep.
And then rigidity is a misnomer too, because sometimes when you think about rigidity, like the material we have is really, really, really thin, but yet the rigidity is a separate measurement on that. Like when you look at rigidity of, it's flexible,
Yeah,
but
of
yet
course.
rigid. And it's not the same as some people think rigid is in like a piece of plastic versus a piece of paper. There's rigidity in relative to its mass.
Yeah. Well, you look at aluminum
You know.
foil. It's not like a big bar of
No,
aluminum,
no,
right? Same
right,
material.
Right.
Or you think about candy shell or something like that on a little candy or something
really
like that.
thin,
It
but
completely
yet
changes the
it's-
characteristics.
Yet it just tends not to flex as much. It holds its shape.
Yeah, you look at an egg even.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's comfortable and familiar with that.
Sure.
That thin shell provides all the structure for the thing. And
Yeah.
compared to the mass,
Right.
it doesn't provide significant
It's
additional
highly
mass.
rigid.
But in that shape, in that size, and that thickness, it provides a huge amount of rigidity.
Yeah. I guess it's a long story on this whole thing because we spent years and years developing
Yeah.
our methods of what we do here. But the even after this whole transducer was designed and we've got the resonances figured out and quieted down to a point where we've got this self-damped, planar, magnetic, unique driver in the world, right? We still had to put it in a frame. It had to go into a headphone. We needed to add structure to it. It had to be protected, right,
Yep.
from the elements, from people, from fingers, from whatever. And I mean, that was a challenge too because all those materials resonate. All those materials have sound. So, I mean, right? I mean, think about that, right? So now, not only have we got a diaphragm that's moving and it's got a frame to it or a baffle, right? A steel, in our case, it's a low carbon steel baffle the whole thing's really mounted. That's the mounting structure that we mount to the frame, right? But beyond that, the resonances from that structure in producing music have to go somewhere. So you can't just let them stick there, stay on that metal plate or wherever, because again, you're going to introduce coloration. So we had to bleed those resonances away into the frame structure, et cetera, right?
Well, I guess the easiest way was to go back to the material list again, and we just kept trying different materials to isolate or damp the physical driver from the rest of the frame.
Yeah.
And that was the easiest way. And we went through a lot of materials
Yeah.
initially. I mean, we just bought everything that we thought might work.
Yeah.
And it was surprising how different they sounded.
Yeah, tell me about it. These are just thin gasket
just
materials.
thin gaskets.
Yeah, we were
really
dealing
thin.
with just isolating, just the way it isolates the baffle from the
Well,
from
and
the structure.
that's two
from the
parts to
frame.
that though, because then we needed to worry about tension, how much torque we'd put on the screws, to how much it would compress those gasket
Yeah, right.
materials, and that would change how much it isolates or dampens.
Yeah, the tension had a
the
relationship
diaphragm.
with the different materials.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every one of them's different.
Yeah.
So you're going to try a material to be fair with it, a gasket material to be fair with it.
Yep.
You'd have to try a whole range of
A
tensions.
few different torques.
Yeah.
Yep.
With our, so you get the torque screwdrivers with the variable settings.
just keep
you
going up on all the
yeah, and just
screws.
listen to it, go, okay. And I mean, some materials just sound like shit right off the get, no matter what tension was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And others varied wildly.
Surprisingly enough, the stuff
know?
that tended to perform the worst for our application was the commercially available stuff
That was, like, designed for it.
designed to
Yeah.
do that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Right.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, right. It didn't work in a headphone.
No.
Maybe it works well in between wall,
Yeah.
Maybe.
drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Inside speakers, I don't know, but it didn't work.
Crazy
It didn't work in
expensive.
a headphone. Yeah.
But
Yeah, the stuff's like
No.
$10 a square foot. Or
And it
something.
was heavy too.
Yeah, yeah,
Dense.
right. It was
So-
heavy. Yeah, it's almost like a tire-based
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's made for sound deadening,
Yeah.
but it did not work well in this application. So,
well, I'm
yeah.
saying that blue stuff
Oh,
that
yeah.
did not work.
Like, do you know who made it? I don't remember.
No, I don't
Yeah,
recall.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it was miserable.
yeah. Right.
Like it seemed like great stuff, but in practice,
I guess because this is a very unique application.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You're not dealing with a large system here. It's relatively tiny.
It seemed like at every step though, we'd go back. All right, here we go again.
Yeah.
We got to start to find a material. We were always looking for materials. Is what
Yeah.
it came down to, and they're always for different applications, and we're all using them in ways that nobody was using them for.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
it was always a process.
Even a ceramic coat when we went to the CC
Yes.
version, right?
Everything.
Well, yeah, we took aluminum that was anodized, which anodized is a hard finish. It's a chemically induced, basically, finish on the. It changes the surface of the material, which changes the resonant character
A little bit.
at certain frequencies.
Yeah.
We put a ceramic coat on the materials, and that changed the resonances of it.
Well,
To-
it
to
isn't
the
really the
plus
ceramic
side.
coat per se. It's the steps before the ceramic coat that cause the change.
Ah,
The ceramic coat's just the end result.
yeah, but it's still a coating.
Yeah, it's the mechanical finishing before the coating.
Oh, right.
That causes the major difference.
Yeah, but bottom line is that it changed to a plus side. It changed the resonant character at the higher frequencies
Yep.
of that particular shape frame we were using, and and then you did some other tricks where you added a little more, I think, diffusion internally on the.
Yeah.
You took some more material away on the inside of the frame on the CC, changed the frame up. More finer cuts. We had. I don't know if we switched to the new
Well, the
CNCs.
major difference, not at
No.
that point. The
Okay.
major difference to
We
the
did
CC
after.
was the magnetics improved due to the coating
Oh,
and the
right.
application compared to where we were on the old baffle assembly.
Right.
So we changed the baffle assembly.
Right.
That was a major difference.
That's true. We also changed up the magnet structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
That's pretty
improved on
exciting.
a more focused magnetic field on the
Yeah.
CC. Yeah, it became the phi driver.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
before that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the
But,
phi
yeah.
was before CC, but right.
Yeah,
right.
And then once we got the phi driver, then we started refining a little bit more on the frame set in terms
Yeah.
to match the phi driver, because now the phi driver's got more resolution than the original driver did. So
Right.
we were again retweaking the resonances of the frame set to match the new drivers.
Right.
Yeah, which the gasket materials held. That one held.
Yeah, that's still the same.
Yeah, that didn't change, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
but-
that still performed the best. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great material.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of having flashbacks over here talking with the applications engineers and all this stuff.
Yeah, no
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
They
You
they always
blow their
ask you what
mind.
you're trying
Yeah,
to
what are
do.
you doing?
Yeah.
You tell them, they're like, what?
Yeah, explaining it to you isn't really going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, at these various companies like DuPont, same with DuPont, alcohol DuPont. I said, well, I need this. Can you get me something thinner than this?
Yeah.
Like for what?
Yeah.
You know, it's just thin
Right.
enough. Well,
Everybody always thinks they're like making a bomb or something
Yeah.
for some
yeah,
reason.
right, yeah,
What are you
right.
doing with
well,
that?
nowadays that would be the way it'd be looked
Right.
at. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you can only get so thin
Yeah.
where it becomes you have to have a DoD license or whatever it is. You got to be Department of Defense, or you got to
Yep.
you got to have a license to get certain materials too thin.
Yeah.
Right.
Aluminum, particulate aluminum's like that too. You can't
Yeah.
get powdered aluminum
Yeah.
because it's using
A surprising
explosive
amount of
shit.
materials we use are restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
Really
can be.
challenging.
Yeah, they can be. Right. You reach a lower limit where you've got to have some sort of special license. Which anyway, I wanted to talk about. We got into the frame. And I wanted to
Yep.
get into the resonance of the back. Now we think we solved as much as possible the resonances through the driver system, the way it carries the resonances through into the frame system and dampens them, all right?
Yep.
And these are tiny, tiny resonances, but these are things that blur
It's not
imaging.
zero, but yeah.
Yeah, there's something there that messes with your brain's ability to recreate imaging in space, and that stuff's out of phase from the original signal. It's who knows what it's doing with your ear's picking it up. It's subtle, but it's there.
Yep.
So now we looked at. We also got to look at reflections, because reflections, I guess reflections aren't necessarily resonances, but they kind of are. The back wave and everything, all the sound being produced from the driver, the back wave of the driver has to go somewhere.
Well, yeah.
So it's bouncing around inside our frame, which is rather thin and narrow. It's not that deep, but still, it's got to go somewhere. And
Yep.
we decided we want to throw as much of it as possible out the back, get rid of it
Yep.
completely.
I suppose that's actually a fair point. Because most people, you look at the depth of their housing, it's much more substantial than what we have. And what you can't really see is the internal geometry from the outside. The foamed aluminum disc on the back of the 1266 assembly, that's actually really close to the diaphragm.
Very, yeah.
And that actually ends up being quite advantageous in our design.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
due
think
to
it's
the
less than a
intrinsic
quarter inch
design.
away.
Oh, much
Oh,
less than
it's
that.
really close.
Oh, yeah,
Much
it's-
less than
it's
that.
surprisingly
Very close.
close.
Because it has
Because
some
you don't notice it, you
non-zero
kind of
Yeah.
flop it in and go, dink. Oh, yeah, because it's recessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
It
see
goes
from the
into the
outside, right?
frame. Yeah.
But the
Yeah, yeah.
magnet assembly, and then as a result, the tension ring, the diaphragm stick out from that
Right.
the thickness, and you can't see that
Right.
internally. And then, of course, the foamed aluminum is sandwiched in there and gets pushed in, and so the gap between the actual diaphragm and the foamed aluminum,
Yeah.
it's minor.
Which means there isn't a lot of airspace there. There's not
Right.
really any room to set up an acoustic, which is
Right.
which is part of a.
So
part of the
basically,
trick,
everything's
part of the trick.
handled by the foamed aluminum for the most part,
Right.
the majority.
Right, and that's from our perspective. We set the porosity on that for our sound, for that driver. You couldn't take our foamed aluminum disc, I don't think, and put it on another.
Oh, no,
Well,
no,
no,
of
It's
course
just
not.
yeah.
It's not going to perform. You'd have to completely change the
No,
parameters.
no.
You know,
The whole
Yeah.
system's tuned together.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool how it works.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's somewhat frequency responsive at the very low frequencies. It starts to react where it's invisible at higher frequencies, which is really cool. It does set up a little bit of a better bass response at very low frequencies. We're talking 20, 30 hertz or so, because it does have some resistance there, but it quickly dissipates. The resistance quickly opens up at higher frequencies into like almost nothing.
Yeah.
It's more of a diffuser.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool material for our application. Friggin' expensive material. In fact, I just ordered another hundreds more pieces of that stuff. It takes a month and a half to get made. So we didn't cover reflections.
There's not. Yeah, the thing it comes down to, there's not much interior volume to deal with, anyways.
Yeah, right.
So it's pretty much right out the back.
Yeah,
so
right.
you don't need to do much.
Yeah, which on a planar design is really what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's key. But not only that disc, that aluminum disc, in itself had to be isolated from itself resonating.
Right.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I guess that's something I haven't considered.
Yeah.
because,
I mean, think about that, right?
Yeah.
right.
And it's got
that has intrinsic damping that's different damping from
Yeah.
the rest of the frame assembly.
Yeah. So
And the baffle assembly and the grill assembly have different damping.
yeah, I mean that thing will vibrate too.
Yeah.
And particularly over time, let's say as the headphone ages and stuff, that
Right.
foamed aluminum may slightly change in thickness or something. So we had to, the materials we used in there had to compensate for that.
course.
Your method of mounting it in there, where you set up ridges internally on the baffle, on the frame assembly to hold that disc in place. And so not only that rear disc can take a pretty good hit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not going to collapse.
Yeah.
Right. All that whole structure had to be there and yet be invisible to the back wave.
Right.
So it was a lot of that. There was a lot of thought process that went into that whole thing through tons
There always is,
of,
right?
Yeah.
through tons and tons of.
That's, I think, the
prototyping.
challenge to translate to the consumer. It's like this with pretty much any product that's well designed, but you could look at something and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of non-obvious things
Oh yeah, totally.
that are important to the actual performance of that apparatus.
Can you imagine if you just took like the frame assembly, just the one piece, and you being the guy that was machining it, right? Because you did the end results for everything you did was for a reason.
I hope.
And you took that one part of the headphone.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you pointed to everything on it that you had to think about? It'd be thousands, tens of
easy,
thousands
yeah.
that you had to actually translate to the machine code
Yeah.
to have the machine make the part exactly the way you wanted it. The beveling the edges and rounding in the corners and the way the internal cutaways were. You removed material that didn't need to be there for reduced mass and. I mean, and again, all this in consideration of resonant control so that the frame doesn't become resonant or ring at some point.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
You really need a complex understanding of the entire system to understand the trade-offs and the benefits to various aspects
You
of
couldn't
the
just hand
design.
that design to some
No,
machinist
of
and go,
course
here,
not.
make this, because he would have no idea what your goal was.
Yeah, because the design of the part isn't just to hold something; it's a functional thing, and so in that regard, for our
Subjectively
use,
functional.
sure,
You gotta listen
right,
to
right.
it. You're hearing it.
But everything's important.
Yeah.
You could change a couple aspects, and it totally
I shouldn't
changes.
say subjectively. It's
dampening
objectively.
factors.
It's objectively subjectively versus subjectively objectively. I don't know.
Close enough.
Yeah, but it's both. I
Sure.
mean, your
It does
objective
things.
is to make it sound good. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Right. Well, anyway, I think we need to wrap this up because I
Yeah.
think, as usual, we're gone over time.
A little bit.
So, nice chat with you guys about resonances. It brings back memories.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to need a beer after this
Oh
one.
boy.
But anyway, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to us so you can catch more of our stuff later on. And by all means, if you have anything you want to see, leave some comments in the bottom. And thanks for joining us. Take care. Really into what they're creating in terms
Yeah.
of a sound. They're really after like they want to hear the way the church hall resonates.
Right.
They're not having a guy just slamming vocals into a microphone and someone else beating on the drums and mixing it all together. These guys are doing like more or less live stuff. I think.
I think it really
I think
depends
it's
on
more
what you're going
critical
for.
to what they're after.
Right. Like if you're trying to set up the mic position or something like that, it may be more important to have a more revealing